The Civil War and, of course, the Apple Cup as well in Washington, two of the greatest rivalries on the West Coast and in all of college football. But Washington already clinched a spot. So Beavers at Ducks, of course. This one, fantastic. There's some coaching rumors swirling about Jonathan Smith as it pertains to other jobs around the country. Unfortunately, not a surprise that Smith, with their situation in the Pac-12 and Oregon State's future being up in the air, not a surprise that he might consider leaving his alma mater. He's done an amazing job. He's a fantastic coach, but he's got one more big game to go, and the Ducks need to win this game to get into the Pac-12 championship. I am curious how much Oregon State has left in the tank. That's sort of where I'm at with this. They clearly are well coached to their identity. DJ Uiagalelei completely fits in what they want to do. I think it's a way that they can compete against teams like Washington and Oregon this year. And I think the game plan, well, eventually it hurt them that they dragged the clock out against Washington last week because they're not exactly a quick strike, deep threat offense. I do think it was the right approach for Oregon State. And I assume that Oregon has watched that film, and I assume that Oregon State wants to do that again to the Ducks this weekend.
Yeah, I think, first of all, let's start by just stating that let's hope that this is not the last time that these two teams play for a while.
Yeah.
Kudos to Washington State and Washington for getting a series schedule for the next 5 games. So hopefully this is not the last time we see these two teams play for a while. I think to your point on what's left in the tank, Oregon State just played a pretty highly emotional game on Saturday. They've got to turn around and play this game on Friday. Oregon has won 3 out of its last 4 games by 29 plus points. So they've been cruising. Yeah. Oregon State's been sweating. So I think the short turnaround helps Oregon a lot here. And in terms of what's at stake, I mean, Oregon State's eliminated from the Pac-12 title mix, but they can still place Boiler here. They could, much like they did last year, pulling off the upset against Oregon. They could do so here. End Oregon's playoff hopes, Pac-12 title hopes, Heisman race for Bo Nix. So to me, this is to your point, it's a style game. I think if Oregon State's offensive line, the run game with Damien Martinez, if they can cut out some of the mistakes they made last week, we saw the safety, there was the turnovers. Uiagalelei's got to play a lot better too. He was all over the place, and he's got to play a lot better on the road for Oregon State to have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, it's a 13.5, two touchdown spread. Washington's like a 16, 17 point favorite over Washington State. Certainly Oregon State is much better than Washington State, so I would expect a closer game in this particular matchup. But I don't know why you couldn't do the same things. Like, I'm going to run DJ between the tackles, for example. That's a way that you can attack Oregon, that he just at his like, I'm sorry, I'm not sure there's a quarterback in college football that is more fun to watch truck stick people than DJ Uiagalelei. Like, he was carrying Washington defenders and like looking for contact. Now, do I think that's sustainable long term? Probably not. But do I think it could carry you to a win in a rivalry game and knock your arch rival out of the playoff and maybe end Bo Nix's chance at a Heisman? Yeah, I think it absolutely could. The question is, as we've already alluded to, not only how much is left in the tank emotionally for Oregon State, but how distracted is their head coach if, in fact, he is being courted by other teams around the country, which would be stupid for those teams not to do, honestly.
Yeah. I think, first of all, Jonathan Smith has been, I think, pretty honest about some of those opportunities and interviews this week, just acknowledging that, hey, his agent's doing work for him, and there are some challenges here at Oregon State going forward. He did say he felt better about some of the plans, but, we'll see. I think just on Oregon, and just to underscore how hard this is for Oregon State, Oregon is averaging 52.5 points in home games this year. So Oregon State is going to have to slow this tempo down. They need a lower scoring game. So to your point, I know that the tank might be running a little empty, but this is your superstars. It's Martinez in that offensive line. It's Uiagalelei on the ground. I want to shorten this game. I don't want to give Bo Nix a ton of possessions. I do think you can move the ball in Oregon's defense. I mean, I think it's a better group than Washington, but I think Oregon State will be able to move it some. If they can drag Oregon into their style, they got a chance to make this one interesting in the fourth quarter.
Also, what made Washington's performance so solid last week, in bad conditions on the road, playing Oregon State style, they still figured out a way to win. That's what made Washington's performance so impressive. So let's see what Oregon, or it'll be nice to watch the two teams sort of like back to back against the same team, a very well coached team, a very interesting team, especially from an offensive scheme standpoint. threatening those two defenses, knowing that those two probably could play next week. Again, I'll take Oregon to win this game and get to the Pac-12 championship game. I assume you're doing the same.
Like Oregon.